When clarity matters most, Northgene makes legal DNA testing simple and reliable. Our accredited tests deliver accurate, court-admissible results, helping family lawyers and their clients resolve matters quickly and confidently. Learn more at northgene.co.uk.
You're listening to the Today's Family Lawyer podcast, the leading source of daily news and insight for family law practitioners in England and Wales. Sign up to our free weekly newsletter at todaysfamilylawyer.co.uk and subscribe to hear all the latest news and views from across the family law sector. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Hello, welcome along to the latest Today's Family Lawyer podcast. Today we are recording ahead of Family Mediation Week, hosted by the Family Mediation Council. And to talk about the aims and objectives of the week, we have Romina Kamran, Sarah Manning and Paul Linsell on the podcast. Thank you all for joining. We've put this together very, very quickly as it's Family Mediation Week imminently. So hopefully this all goes to plan. In the first instance, though, I wonder if each of you might tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Romina, first, tell us who you are and what do you do, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a fully accredited family mediator and founder of ARC Mediation and Digital MIAM. I've been mediating for nearly 10 years, and I also look after trainees that are coming through the mediation industry as I'm a personal practice consultant. But my focus is always to kind of help families resolve their conflicts constructively using mediation.
Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Linsell. I'm the partner and head of the family law team at Boyce Turner, who are a leading law firm based in Reading. Like Romina, I've been a mediator for just over 10 years, I think it is now, fully accredited through the FMC. And I can operate in different ways. So whether it's traditional mediation or hybrid mediation, really it's about the passion of getting families unstuck and helping them make informed choices.
Well, thank you, Paul. And Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Manning, partner at Hall Brown Family Law based in Leeds. I'm a practicing family lawyer and accredited mediator. Been a mediator for about 14 years and a lawyer for 15. I mainly specialise in non-court dispute resolution work as both a mediator and solicitor in children and financial matters. I'm also the chair for the Family Mediation Week committee and have been for the last 5 years. And I also sit on the dispute resolution committee with Resolution.
Brilliant. Thank you for the introductions. Paul, I'm going to come to you first. You are a member of the Family Mediation Council. You've talked about the fact that you trained through them. I guess there aren't going to be many listeners who don't know what it is, but tell us, who are the Family Mediation Council? What is it? What are its aims and ambitions?
Yeah, sure. So Family Mediation Council, or the FMC, I suppose it's a collective really for mediators. And I suppose the aim is to bring everything under one roof, is the way I see it, certainly. And I think the FMC would say that they really want every separating or separated family in England and Wales to have access to regulated and high quality family mediation. So it's about giving that support, I suppose, and having the confidence in the mediators that you're using. So one of the things that the FMC does is that they will have a register of mediators who have actually done something to meet the agreed professional standards. And so when we talk about being an accredited mediator, really what we're talking about is accreditation through the FMC. And certainly I'm sure any mediators listening that have gone through that process will know it is quite a grueling process to go through. It's not a tick box exercise. It really is holding people to a standard that's really quite important, I think. And certainly public or other professionals who look at those registers can look at that and have confidence in knowing that that has been adhered to. So that's one aspect of it. And I suppose other aspects would be things such as the FMC doing training. So again, going back to that sort of standards. There is also a code of practice. So making sure that people are adhering to, again, those standards and sort of teeth if they don't adhere to those standards and that code of practice. There's also things that mediators have to do. So things like appropriate professional development, making sure, any lawyers listening will know CPD very well, but making sure that they're doing the things that they need to do to keep up to date with what they're doing. You have to be supported by what we would call a PPC, or professional practice consultant. Romina's mentioned that that's something that she can do. And really what that is a supervisor to make sure that you're doing your mediation work in an appropriate way, and also to have that support, someone to talk to if mediation, you might have a tricky issue, for example, in a mediation that you need to talk through with someone. And also the FMC would insist on their members having certain things, so things like the usual insurances, complaints processes. There is a complaints process through the FMC as well. And really it's about ensuring those standards are, again, being adhered to. The final role I would say that the FMC sort of undertakes is that work that they do in terms of raising awareness and ensuring that there's access to family mediation, so sort of promoting mediation in its entirety. And that may be things such as liaising with the government about public funding and promoting it really in a whole range of different ways, of course, one of which we're going to talk about more, which is Family Mediation Week.
There are vociferous nods as you talk about the importance of the Family Mediation Council in terms of its responsibilities to its members for standards, and also to the public as well from our contributors to the podcast. And yes, as you say, it's a very neat route into the topic of discussion today, Family Mediation Week. And Sarah, you've been very heavily involved in it, obviously, for a number of years. What is Family Mediation Week? Why is it important?
Thank you. So it's the opportunity to raise awareness of family mediation and the benefits it brings to separating families. So the aim is to let people know about its benefits to either separating couples direct or professionals working with separated families, and encouraging separating families to think about family mediation as a way to help them take control, make decisions and build a positive future. Initially, Family Mediation Week was started by Family Mediators Association, that is another member organisation that championed it. It was then passed to the Family Mediation Council because FMA wanted other member organisations to raise awareness, as it was passed to the Family Mediation Council to promote across all their members rather than just with the Family Mediators Association. And it was felt like collectively, despite where the members had trained or who their member organisation was, that we could spread it across nationally. So that's when it got passed. I think it's about 5 or 6 years ago to the Family Mediation Council, and we've been able to spread it more wider then, and everybody, other member organisations get involved. Because as a mediator, you tend to have the Family Mediation Council overrun, but then you're members of other organisations like Resolution or National Family Mediation. So there's lots of different other organisations. So it's good that we can all come together despite where we sit, and nationally to all come together to share the benefits of mediation. It also, one of the things that we try to aim for the week is to focus opportunity to explain what family mediation is to the public. We always struggle because sometimes previous years when we've done Family Mediation Week, we end up preaching to the choir in the sense that loads of mediators attend, but they already know how great it is, or them lawyers that already know how great it is. So that's something that we've really struggled. And like I say, I've sat on the committee for the last 5 years, and each year on year we've got better with that, so that we can let them know how it works and how it can support them. And then we've also, a key aim of the week is to engage with a range of professionals who come into contact with separating families. So we've done like tailor-made webinars for like school teachers and educational staff, which might find out about the difficulties at home separating families when the child's saying, I hear mummy and daddy arguing, they've said this, or domestic abuse, where they might be able to signpost to mediation. We've had other medical professionals like GPs, health visitors and things like that, and therapists, where they might be the first person as a therapist. So I don't know if I'm not happy in my marriage, and they might say, well, instead of going, and taking this route, mediation's a more amicable way of dealing with it. So they can signpost. Similar with social workers that might be involved with a family, and other local people. There's lots of different places where you'd find out before we would as lawyers or mediators, to try get them to make an informed decision. So it's not about telling them you have to go to mediation, but allowing them to know that that's an option that's available to them, which is a more cost effective, more amicable way than before. The perceived perception is, oh, I'm getting divorced, I need a lawyer, and letting them and encouraging that awareness that there is different options. So as part of Family Mediation Week, we've got a leaflet that we've tried to spread out across different professionals working with families to just help get that engaged. And a core message of the week is that mediation is not about conflict. There's always this misconception. We've done it before in years about debunking what mediation is. Some people think it's meditation, all these type of things that we've done in the past. And it's about cooperation. We want families to see mediation as a proactive way to communicate safely, make arrangements that work for all involved, prioritise the children's well-being, and just build positive foundations for the future. And it's about showing that they've got choices, and just so the aim is to have awareness for the week that there is these different options that are available.
Awareness campaigns like this can be really powerful, particularly if the profession really gets behind them. And I know you've said that you've done quite a bit of content around awareness for the wider professionals, schools, or whatever it might be. But there's quite a lot of part of the week for family law professionals.
Yeah. So we've got on the Family Mediation Council website, there's a dedicated page for Family Mediation Week. We've got recordings of things that we've done in the past, but then there's a full timetable on there. So one of the tabs have got in-person meetings that we're encouraging lawyers to attend. We've got the Family Mediation Week launch for lawyers at 9 a.m. on the Monday. We're still preparing that now, but that's always a good way to kickstart it. There's a number of in-person meetings throughout the week that we want lawyers to come and hear more about mediation, informal setting, and have a discussion. There's one that's taking place in Manchester, there's Guildford, Newbury, Bishop, Stortford are doing an exciting play called Daisies Through the Looking Glass. I've seen it myself done it. It's a really good way to see how mediation can help and work, and how conflict affects the wider family. So that's really exciting, because that's the first time that we've done that. And there's in-person events in London, Birmingham and Leeds. So it's really informal. There's different things. The one that I'm doing in Leeds is at 4 o'clock on the Friday, and it's more of a glass of wine and a canapé, where other areas are doing coffee mornings with a cup of coffee and a slice of cake. So there's loads of different things going on. So it really encouraged lawyers to look on that timetable and see if you can attend the local event to get involved and meet local mediators as well. And then the rest of the timetable is split up each day with about 4 webinars. So there's one every day for lawyers and mediators that they can go to that's on there, and there's others for the public and other professionals. One of the things that I've been working on, because as I said, I sit on the DR committee for resolution as well. We've got on the Friday, it's called Practical Tips for Lawyers Supporting Clients in Mediation, which is on Friday the 30th of January at 11 a.m. And that's a really good way. We're speaking for about an hour. We've got Mary Raymond and Suzanne Kingston, who are trainers for resolution. It's a free webinar about the tips and how to support your clients practically through mediation. So we're going to talk about the different options of mediation. So you might have traditional mediation where it's just husband and wife that are there, mum and dad, or it might be that you've got lawyers supporting outside mediation more actively, or it might be that the lawyers are actually involved in the mediation. So that our webinar is really to give lawyers more help and understanding of what their role plays when their clients are going through mediation. We've also got a coffee morning on the 28th of January at 10 a.m. and it's Ask the Mediator Anything. So we're encouraging lawyers to put forward questions beforehand or ask us in like a seminar format. There's no question too silly. Ask us, what happens, because sometimes when I speak to lawyers about mediation, that sometimes if they become involved in the mediation, their worry is about what their role is, what they'll have to do, and a bit worried about that. So with them 2 webinars, the aim of them was to be able to ask freely questions, or even come along and someone else will ask the question that you've been probably thinking, or you can do it anonymously. And then also for the practical tips. So we're really trying to focus this year on supporting lawyers and having that help of what they need to do to support their clients through mediation.
We've done previous podcasts about mediation, some of the benefits of mediation, and I don't necessarily want to go down that route entirely, but as we look ahead, and as I say, awareness campaigns like this, it's 1 week. Presumably the materials are all recorded and available for on-demand review later on as well, Sarah.
Yeah, so afterwards we have a YouTube channel that you can go on, so they're all on there. After this year, if anyone misses any, you can log on and they'll all be on there afterwards. But we do encourage people to come on, because you can ask quick questions as the webinar's taking place. But yeah, they'll all be recorded afterwards.
We all know that family law cases can be complicated, which is why you and your client deserve reliable, hassle-free drug and alcohol testing services. From hair testing to abstinence monitoring, we can help. Visit lextalks.co.uk for more information.
So at the end of Family Mediation Week, and we're all super enthused about what our opportunity is, what are our hopes as mediators for the profession in 2026, Romina? For example, do we think that the voucher scheme has worked? Should it be continued? What else do we need to be thinking about as a profession?
That's a great question. I think I feel deeply hopeful and extremely energized about the direction that family mediation is moving in as we kind of stepped into 2026. And I think we can all say that, as mediators and solicitors that are supporting families through conflicts and trying to help them work through challenging financial settlements and children arrangements, that mediation can really transform those conflicts into constructive communication. So I feel really hopeful about the future of family mediation, and I think as part of that, the voucher scheme has been absolutely transformative in kind of broadening access to mediation. We have now the ability to open a door for clients that would have not been able to access family mediation if it wasn't for those vouchers. And we know that now, tens of thousands of families are accessing a service that they just wouldn't have thought or been able to afford. So I'm deeply hopeful that and I'm hoping that the voucher gets extended, because it just means that we're able to show clients that they don't have to live in limbo. And I think another thing about mediation that's starting to shift is this idea that it's just a one-off. It's just in that moment, it's just in that conflict. But actually, we do a lot of work with clients to try to get them to see that, with mediation, we try to put in place something that's sustainable and encourage clients to understand that, at some point, especially if you're co-parenting, you might need to dip back into mediation and get that additional support as new challenges arise, as children's needs change. So mediation isn't a fallback. It's not just ticking that box. It really is something that people can continue to use as and when they need it.
And as a sort of final thought, I guess we're going to energize people through events like Family Mediation Week, but what as a profession, what can solicitors do differently in 2026 that, to the benefit of their practice, to the benefit of their clients, to families, and ultimately thinking about mediation as a first route rather than as a last resort?
Well, I think it's not just solicitors, right? So I think mediators too. So together, collectively, I see it as we're critical partners in this journey. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that has started to change is, I work and speak with solicitors all the time, and solicitors that are also trained as family mediators. So there's just a lot more communication. And I think the biggest shift that probably needs to continue to happen is obviously having that dialogue open, that communication, the kind of referring clients before the conflict has got to a point where it's like, right, well, now we're going to go to a mediator to get your certificate and go off to court. No, stop. Why don't we just talk about mediation and send them to a mediator so they can hear about how it works in the process? So I think there's that, rather than using it when mediation gets used, right? So when mediators are called upon, I would love to see solicitors coming to us before it gets to a point where they either think they're going to court or the conflict's really bad, and there's a lot of work that we can do with clients and solicitors that will mean that they reach a settlement without the need of kind of adversarial proceedings. So yeah, positioning mediation at the right time would be super helpful. And I think this idea of kind of focusing on how we can all engage constructively in conversations to help clients see that there are options, and it doesn't have to be super painful and it doesn't have to be high conflict. If we all work together as a team, you can use the different professionals along the way. And yes, of course, it's extremely sad that, parents are separating and that you're having to work through difficult children arrangements, but there's terribly sad, and then there's something that can go on for years and years and years and have a deep impact. Yeah.
So if that's the mediator's view of what the profession could do or what solicitors might do to engage with mediation this year and beyond, perhaps we might move to the lawyer's view. And Sarah, what is your hope for the profession in terms of mediation in 2026 and beyond?
I'd like for lawyers as well to sort of think a little bit more about the mediators. So that's why we do a lot of these in-person meetings that I mentioned, in the sense to get to know your local mediators, because similarly as lawyers, we don't use one barrister for all our cases. When you're advising a client, different barristers will fit different personalities of your clients that you do in different scenarios and different area of expertise. You might need a higher call barrister where you could have more of a junior one depending on the complexities. And I think that a similar approach needs to be with mediators that give mediation a fighting chance from the start. So if it's quite a relatively straightforward, low assets, there's not much complexities, then you might not need to have a lawyer mediator or somebody. But if partway through the mediation you find out that actually you need lawyers to become part of the mediation, if that mediator you've used is not trained to do or wants to do lawyer mediation, like hybrid mediation or integrated mediation, then it'll probably break down. So it's trying to find out and think strategically what mediators you need to use. Or does the mediator do child inclusive mediation? Will a child need to be spoken in this case? So to think more at the beginning, so not just have one mediator that you refer to, but have, like you do barristers, lots of them that and think strategically with your client which one is going to give this mediation the fighting chance of how the case is going to progress. That was just one point that I just wanted to sort of make.
Do you want to come in on that one, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo a lot of what Sarah says as well. I think for me, it's a case of the entirety of the profession, both lawyers and mediators and any family law professionals, working together. And I think for solicitors and family lawyers, some of that may be a bit of a rethink about what mediation is, or a bit of an understanding about what mediation is. And I think the way I see it is clients will come to a professional, whoever that first person is, and they need support. And you can kind of break that down into the types of support that they need. So, of course, they need advice. They need that legal advice, which is where the traditional solicitor role is going to come in. They probably need some emotional support as well. And so there's probably another person coming in there. But then they need a process. They need something that will hold their hands and hold the family's hands through the situation that they're in. And really, mediation is that process. And lawyers have a place in that process. This isn't sort of mediation suddenly will come and swallow this up and lawyers then fall out of the equation. It's a bit like court is a process, or whatever other processes you're thinking about. Mediation is that process and can sort of help people through that. So I think it's really about lawyers getting to know mediation if you don't know it already. Sarah mentioned get to know your mediators as well, because it's not always the same. And then really work in that partnership and think about what can make this mediation as effective as possible. What is going to make this work, rather than perhaps thinking, oh no, I don't want to go down that route, I want to go down this route, because mediation is a really flexible process. And I think one of the real beauties of mediation is its flexibility. So if you can start thinking in that way of mediation will probably work in this case, what do we need to adjust? How do we need to make it work? That's, I think, a sort of sea change, perhaps, in terms of how we can move things forward. And of course, the obvious thing as well for solicitors is MIAMs. Get to MIAMs really early so that we can sort of unpick those things and work out what process is going to work best.
I look at this sort of scenario in the similar sort of vein as some of the initiatives around one lawyer, one couple, where you're bringing in people with expertise who really understand, they really understand their subject matter much better than you might. As a lawyer, think about pensions experts. You made the point there about emotional support, Paul, and we've spoken to people on the podcast who are divorce consultants and divorce coaches, and sort of horses for courses, I suppose, in some respects. Thank you all for joining the podcast. We're going to end with a call to action from Sarah on getting involved in Family Mediation Week, which starts on Monday, the 26th of January.
Thank you. Yeah, we really struggle year on year to reach the general public at the very start of when they're thinking of separation. So before they come to us as lawyers or even as mediators. And we're doing a campaign with the webinars aimed at them, but we rely for Family Mediation Week solely on the spot and our sponsors, and we have limited funds. So if anybody could share the invites for the webinars on LinkedIn and Facebook and our social media platforms, just to reach out to your personal social media accounts or even your contacts on LinkedIn, it'd be really helpful to share them webinars and try contact the general public to make them aware of this free service that is available. Thank you.
Brill. Thank you all very much indeed for joining the Today's Family Lawyer podcast. The podcast is available on your preferred podcast provider. It's also available on todaysfamilylawyer.co.uk. My thanks to Romina, to Sarah and to Paul. Thank you as ever for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Vacancy Legal Recruitment, a refreshingly unique and personal talent agency developed specifically for legal. Dedicated to the sector and with extensive experience working across legal services and legal technology, we bridge the gap between your requirements and top-tier legal talent. Get in touch today and say hello at vacancy.co.uk.